All right, video number 2 of our hip health series with Jordan Shallow. Jordan, what are we on to next?
Okay, so today we're going to address the TFL. So the tension fasciae lata is most commonly known as the muscle that ties into your iliotibial band. So that lateral tract. It's not the only one. It's something we'll talk about later. But it seems almost vestigial.
It's considered fascia, right? I mean,
this is actually muscle. So the ITB is fascia. It's sort of like it has ligamentous properties and tendinous properties as it crosses the knee, but think of it like a puppeteer, right? It's the ITB is just kind of doing what the TFL tells it to do, right? So think of like your calves. You have your gastrocs, your soleus that tie into your Achilles tendon. Imagine this like a long Achilles tendon.
Okay.
So your TFL is a flexor internal rotator of the hip, something we don't find ourselves in too often. And usually what happens when we get tight hip flexors, we ask other muscles with secondary actions of hip flexion to make up for the lack of ability to flex to the hip. So people with tight hip flexors really have tight TFLs, and that can play up either at the knee or at the hips.
Now, is this, and I suffer from this, sometimes I feel almost like, and I've been told like I have bursitis in my hips.
Yeah.
Is this common?
Yeah, so what happens is you have your TFL, think of like the seam of your pants here, just as you cross that trochanter of the hip, that's where that TFL goes tendinous in the ITB.
Okay.
And that crosses and stabilizes. So basically, TFL, TFL, glute med, glute max, all tie into this lateral tract.
Okay.
All these are easy to release. Glute stretches, I mean, they're a dime a dozen, but releasing this, that becomes crucial.
Is it because it's so deep or because it's so small?
So it actually kind of hides under the anterior fiber of the glute, so you need to rotate your femur in a certain way to get to it. So a lot of times practitioners will do this, but with the kettlebell, we'll actually show you a way to get to it yourself.
Oh, cool. So we're gonna use a kettlebell to target that.
Exactly. So we'll get you in a 90-90 position, so just kind of like this.
Okay.
Good. So now we'll go after that right hip that's internally rotated.
Okay.
What I want you to do is we're going to drop that right in there.
Oh, yeah.
So with your right hand, go ahead and grab that and start pushing it on like a 45-degree angle, and then just start rocking that back and forth and pulling that up into the brim of the pelvis.
Okay.
So you should be able to find it.
Oh, yeah. No, I can feel it right now.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't have a kettlebell, what's another tool that you might use?
You can use the end of a plate, like a 25-pound, 35-pound plate. Same idea. You can just sort of, here.
And then when I'm doing this, am I continuously moving circles, or do I want to find it and then kind of stay in that area?
Find it, stay in the area. Think of driving this knee
I was just going to ask you. Okay,
yeah,
so forward is what I'm driving.
Yeah.
Do I want to drive it down or
think of lifting this foot up?
Oh, like this rotation?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, geez. Okay, right there.
Yeah. So I mean, basically, you're rotating that femur to a point where that TFL is directly under the pressure of the handle of the kettlebell.
It actually feels really good. This is something that I do already currently in my, I do a 90-90.
Yeah.
And then I'll
deactivate.
and I'm trying to intrinsically activate and work on that, or then I'll move in and then kind of hold. But I like actually finding that TFL, putting the pressure on there. And when you put pressure on something like this, I would normally tell people, like, it's not supposed to be painful and hurt. It's normally like 40% intensity or so, would you say?
I mean, it's not entirely dose dependent. Like if some is good, more is better. Just the thing you need to remember is whenever we implement myofascial release, we're not breaking up tissue. Right? It's purely an effect on the nervous system. We're jamming a kettlebell handle through that safety pin cycle of motor output sensory.
I want to reiterate what you said right there, because I feel like this is a common mistake, and this is something that we used to think as trainers back in the days, that we were breaking up this tissue.
No.
And it's really more of a neurological thing that we're working on here, right? We're trying to send that signal there on an area that's pretty much kind of like gone to sleep or whatever, and not get activated very much.
Yeah. I mean, what happens, think of if you had a barbell on your back with 225, the amount of pounds per square inch of pressure, if that was able to break up tissue with a 20-pound kettlebell on your hip, the amount of pressure you'd have on your back, you'd be a pile of what was once muscle now busted up into goo, right? So yeah, it's purely just a nervous system endeavor that just sends receptors into the muscle, then allows it to release.
Nice. Love that. What an excellent move right there. Make sure you guys subscribe to the YouTube channel. Every day we drop a new video. Also, at the end of this video, you guys will see a direct link to our 30 days of free coaching. Make sure you sign up and share.